We want the podcasts that we are creating to make an impact in the world, but not just in the world as a whole. We want our communities and our countries to do and be better from the content we're sharing. Today's guest is doing just that. Cody has a podcast that is all about Canada and being Canadian and the highs and lows of what that is, as well as some ways to move forward as a country. And what I love about what Cody's doing is that his goal is just to make an impact, even if that's just one person changing their way of thinking and wanting to do and be better. Please join me in welcoming Cody to the podcast. Welcome to Podcasting Unlocked, the show for purpose-driven podcasters. I'm Alicia Galati, founder of Galati Media, and I'm here to share actionable strategies to help you amplify your message and grow your audience. Hello, Cody. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. If you could start by telling everyone who you are, what you do, and a bit about your podcast.
Sure. Thank you for having me. My name is Cody Johnston, aka The Weird Canadian. I just started my podcast called The Weird Canadian, and it's kind of a look at Canada through a lens of passion, progress, and problems, taking the weird and making it prominent, because we've kind of become a society that has become more mainstream, single, centralized way of being. And we need to get back to this state of individualism and fixing some of the things that don't work for everyday Canadians. So it's a podcast that really explores Canada, the issues we have, the passions that we have, the amazing achievements we've made that we don't boast ourselves about because we're Canadian and we would prefer to just be behind the scenes and doing them. But yeah, that's kind of what my channel is. As far as who I am a software developer of about a decade, 8 of those years being in the Ministry of Transportation in Ontario, working government, and about a year and a half with a financial institution working on risk asset management. And my passions lie in geekdom, AI, and the tech that's about to revolutionize the future.
I love that. That is so cool. So I'm curious, when you were thinking about your podcast and how you wanted to launch it, when you were thinking about what you wanted to talk about, what were kind of, because I know I've gone through this, like the different iterations of it before you were like, okay, this is what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, so it started out of the US election, that whole thing that gave me pure rage because I saw how everything went down and how wrong both sides played it. And I got scared. So I started making videos just kind of like criticizing it, and then realized that it was really in a place of anger. And that wasn't the message I wanted to give out. So it really was an iterative process of figuring out that people wanted to hear a message and then finding what message I wanted to give. My partner really made it clear to me when I moved here, because I was in a very clouded state where I feel like I was in the position where my audience is in. And she kind of gave me that light to say, hey, like, you're not the only one having this problem. You've succeeded, like you're successful, but you're not happy. So why not make yourself happy? And that became my adventure of figuring out what I wanted to do, which is helping Canada succeed, bringing it to the world stage, bringing our stories to light, because it's not talked about. And I think that's a way of really changing our country.
I love that so much. And I'm sadly, born in the US. So I get it. I understand the fear, right? And I have a friend, she lives one of the states in the northern borders and has a partner who crosses the border every weekend to see her. And we get updates regularly on what's happening on the border and just the fear that there is right now. And just hearing from like, also, I have some author friends who are Canadian and the things that they're going through on their side and like not wanting to travel to the US for bookish events because it is really scary. Like what is going to happen and where are we going? So is it more of a like political podcast? Are you finding that it's more of a mesh of like, no, this is just who we are as Canadians and this is where we're going?
I want it to be of more of a Canadians who we are, and this is where we're going. The unfortunate part is politics have put us in such a position where I have to talk about them because they're the things that kind of tie us right now. Our government is more restrictive over the things we say and do and just go about as opposed to the US. And those things aren't made light in Canada. Like a lot of Canadians don't know that these are problems that we face because of the cultural integration that we've had over the past decade or two. But yeah, like I want to focus on fixing things and showcasing Canada to be the pride and the country I know it is. But I know I have to be political in that regard because a lot of these problems are caused by our political structures.
So now I'm curious with podcasting specifically, do you feel like you have a little more wiggle room to be able to say what you want to say and maybe take a stance that maybe you might not be able to on a social media platform?
Yeah, I wanted to do long form because I think it gives a little bit more insight into what's actually happening. And I really wanted to press on detail because that's where the finer things really come up is the detail in the stories. A lot of the social media is all just out of context, like made to infuriate. And I do that to some point as a social media person too, but it's mostly the long form content that has given me the voice that really feel like I stand for. I'm not afraid of anything I say on my channel, even the short form content where I'm infuriating people. I can stand behind it because I know my long form content, but context gives that rich detail and understanding. So yeah, it's given me this great voice to this.
I love that so much. That's one thing that I anticipated after the election was that, especially in the US, with the whole media companies, Facebook, Meta, et cetera, being backed or backing the president that we have, that we would have a lot more censorship on these platforms. And so, how can we talk about the things that we care about in a way that, one, we don't get that immediate negative feedback, which, like you said, social media tends to be just a circle of that, and being able to really just share our voice and feel comfortable and confident doing that. And I think podcasting is such an impactful way to be able to use your voice in whatever way you want to and to make the impact that you want, which it sounds like that's your goal really is to make an impact with your country. So I love that.
It really is. The one thing I do have to say that is a difference is we do have the restrictive censorship on ours. Other media types, we're starting to see a clampdown on it as being misinformed and getting that label. I'm just trying to fight against that. I have a video coming out shortly about that exact bill that's causing this. In Canada, we have that little bit more restrictive, and I want us to be more of the United States where it's like, hey, you can have these say and people can get the message regardless of what platform it comes from.
Yeah, absolutely. And then people should be able to make informed decisions from that information, right? I mean, I'm a parent, and so that is something that I'm constantly teaching my kids is like when we Google something, we double check the sources. When we Google something, we look, okay, is this from a .edu website or is this from Nat Geo? Because my kids are really into like science stuff. Or is this some rando, AI compilation? Like, where are their sources? Where did they get this information? And so I think that if we approach whatever anyone is saying with that attitude, then it allows us to then make educated choices. But sadly, not everyone does that, but hopefully we'll get there one day with what we're hopefully teaching our kids. So I love that. So what is some of the feedback that you've been getting so far with your content?
So far, it's just been vanity metrics. I'm very impressed because for being only on for 4 months on YouTube, I have about 7,700 followers
Nice.
and over 100,000 views total. Everybody says I'm successful, and it's like, no, because nobody's engaging, nobody's talking about it, nobody's sharing these things. And it's like, that's what I want to get to. I just posted a recent video that was kind of controversial because I don't have kids and don't want kids because my focus really does want to be on fixing the country and fixing society for the next generation. I really want to focus on that. But it was a very interesting conversation on climate change and humans. And that post showed me that I'm getting more in depth of people who want to understand, who want to take a stab at understanding deeper. I just hope that can continue on with the next videos I keep on posting.
Yes. Yeah, it's always interesting what those, like, hit or miss ones are, and I'm curious too, do you have guests on your show? Is it just you talking?
Yeah, I use the Podmatch platform to
Okay.
bring on guests as well. I want to give my audience tools to run with. So I've had Michael Bach, who is a DEI specialist, on to talk about inclusivity in businesses. I've had Drake Wolf on, who talks about AI automation in business, being able to build a business with an AI agent itself, needing nobody but yourself. I've have conversations with a bunch of other people. And I'm just trying to build tools for my audience to kind of build their dream life, empower them to run with the information.
Yeah. So it sounds like that whole idea of what you said that your partner said to you of like, live a happy life, right? Like you get to choose what that looks like. And that's something that I am constantly telling my kids. My 7-year-old, he'll be 8 by the time this goes out, which is wild. But he is someone who's like our Wi-Fi went out this morning and he's like, we're never gonna have Wi-Fi again. And I'm like, bro, okay. What is the
I
worst case
remember
scenario?
I remember 3 days in the 90s where we had no power for 3 days. So like no TV, no like nothing. A few hours of Wi-Fi isn't gonna hurt.
I
Loss isn't
know.
gonna.
It's so funny. He tends to over exaggerate. And so I'm like, all right, I understand you're feeling that way. What's the worst that could happen? And he's like, we never get to play the games because he was playing a PBS kids game on the computer. He's like, I never get to play the game again. And I was like, okay, is that actually going to happen though? He was like, "No." And I was like, "Okay. So what's something else we can do right now? I don't wanna do anything else." I'm like, "All right, how about we snuggle for a little bit? Let's get some hugs. Like, let's just calm down," right? Because he's feeling a little sick too. But yes, it's like you get to choose to be happy. Sometimes things don't go your way. It's gonna be okay. But I love that you're doing that to, like, make that impact and make that difference. What does that ratio look like for you for, like, solo episodes versus guests? Is it, like, every other or once a month you show up? What does that look like?
I'm trying to do an every other for right now. Right now, I'm doing a podcast, like, so bringing on a guest for one type of podcast. And I'm also doing a talking head podcast. Once I get established a little bit more, I'm actually want to get more to man on the scene podcasts. I want to go to people, their businesses, actually showcase what they're doing, how they're doing it, the issues that they have, giving a bunch of background content for monetization, of course, but being able to showcase that to the world. Like, I want to monetize all the work I do, but I'm never going to gatekeep the information I learn or anything that comes out of my channel. Those things need to be freely informed, and that's a priority out of all my channels. I don't gatekeep any information. I actually have this problem that if you ask me a question, I will tell you the God's honest truth, and it's problematic in a lot of situations. But I'm an open person. That's what I want my channel to be. Open entirely.
I love that, though. I think that's so important too. And I think that with a podcast specifically, and this is something I talk to my clients about constantly, is they'll be like, well, do I want to give that information away? How much information do I want to give away? And I'm like, everything you're going to say is probably Googleable. So they're going to want to hear it from your voice. And if they even try to figure it out themselves, they might not be able to. And so by just giving them that information, you are allowing them to say, oh, cool, I actually need help with this. Who do I need to go to? You, because you are that resource for them. So I think that that's so important that you're doing that. And I think that it's a good thing. It's a good problem to have, I think.
I'm glad I found it as kind of my passion. And it literally is my passion. Like, I don't see a problem. I don't see a hindrance. I don't see an end to this. Like, it's just what I want to do now. And now it's just making sure it fits into my life. And I hope I can give as much information. But at the very least, if I change one person's mind or help somebody else, that I've made an impact and that helps.
Yes, I love that. But that's where I think being clear on that goal is so important. So often I have seen podcasters where they're like, I want lots of downloads and I want to make an impact and I want to get engagement. And it's like, cool. We want all those things. That's great. But what can you focus on for the next 6 months? And then just focus on that, right? And so if that is, hey, I want to increase the views on my YouTube channel, cool. Here are the things you need to do in order to do that. So that's what you should be focusing on during that time. And then all the rest ends up coming with it, right? The engagement, because then more people see your content and the leads, right? If your goal is to use your podcast to generate leads for your business, right? There's so many different ways to do that. But it's about, all right, what is that initial goal that you really want? And then focusing on that first and foremost. So you mentioned that you wanted to talk through some strategies that you're kind of thinking about for growing your channel. Let's go ahead and riff off of those. I'm always happy to be like, yes, tell me your problems. I will give you any answer I possibly have.
So I do a lot of long form content, which I shrunk down into like the smaller shorts content. My issue is more around like, how do I use that content to drive the long form? Because right now I'm posting it, but it doesn't seem to like bring engagement to the long form.
Yeah. So with YouTube specifically, and we're seeing this with social media as well, but with YouTube specifically, since that's your platform of choice right now, those shorts are a slow growth strategy. And so you might get thousands of views on it, but it's not really leading to a lot of people coming over and watching a lot of your content. Sadly, that's what we're seeing across the board for a lot of people. So I would just say keep doing it. In the first 72 hours of when your episodes go live, that's going to be when you're going to want to push 2 or 3 of those shorts, though. And then make sure in the second, and you might already be doing this, but for anyone who's listening, who's like, wait, I need help with YouTube as well. In that second tab, you can connect your short to a video that you have in your listing. It has to already be published. And so, what we're doing, like for our team, what the clients that we're posting on YouTube, the day the episode goes live, we post one reel for that day, connect it to the video, and then we schedule one for the next day to go live that's related to that video. And so that way we get it within that first 24, 48 hours. But anything that you can push in that initial time when your episode goes live is going to be really helpful for moving people through. But again, it is a slow growth thing and regularly posting those shorts, I should say. And then you can always, and I don't know if you're using something like Opus Clips or what you're using. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I love Opus Clips for that. I'll usually create anywhere from 3 to 6, like pull from those and then just schedule them out for the clients that we're like doing a lot more. I'll schedule them out and stagger them over the next few weeks. And so that way it's not just like, oh, here's the new content, here's the new episodes, go and look at those. But hey, it's been a few weeks, go check out that episode just to keep driving traffic back to those past episodes. And so if you haven't done those for your current episodes, if you have those shorts that you haven't used, just schedule them out and then refer them back to those episodes. And like I said, it'll be a slow growth one, but it does work eventually.
That's definitely helpful because yeah, the time frame of pushing them out was really what was hard for me. How do I engage with this full long video at the end? Especially seeing as like you get hundreds of clips out of Opus Clip for it's ridiculous. And they're a lot like all of them are pretty decent hits too. If you're just getting them to the audience that really need to get there.
Yes. And so one thing that I do, I pick anywhere from 3 to 6 that are really good, and then I move on, right? Because they do give you like 25 per episode, which is a lot. I usually do 3 to 6. And then based on that, where do I want to share them? And then making sure that it has maybe your cover art on it or your logo, something like is like, hey, this is me, is also helpful in referring back. Yeah, but yeah, the first 72 hours is going to be really helpful.
Oh, because I just had a coaching session right before this. So I got all of the official things that I need to do. Well, I guess we can go over it. Like
Yeah.
making the channel consistent, like making sure that your thumbnails present like the same thing over and over again. Don't use AI for thumbnails. I am learning very fast. As an AI guy, like it looks good to me, but I guess other people are a little bit more discerning. And also trying to keep things SEO generated and Google searchable. Those tools are kind of in what I found, and I'm still fuzzy on how to make those fully work all the time.
Yeah. So one thing that we do is we use Buzzsprout as our podcast hosting platform. And so where we put our podcast, that gets its own title and its own show notes. And then what goes on YouTube is completely different for the title and the description. And then what's on our thumbnail is completely different, that titling as well. And so I might have like a whatever kind of title for Buzzsprout, and then I will actually ask. We use Otter for our transcripts, and so I'll put you can use anything for your transcripts, but you can even use, if you have the transcript, running it through Gemini or through ChatGPT or whatever, and saying, give me a YouTube SEO friendly title and description for this episode. And then one thing is saying I like to add to it is using YouTube's best practices, right? Because yes, they might want to give you something that's, SEO friendly, but what are YouTube's best practices? Give me those. So having that, making sure you're having the timestamps in there as well if you can. Any links that are like if the other person has a channel, then you can tag them in there and that way they get a notice of like, hey, this video was about you. And so we're just trying to find any way to like collaborate with other YouTubers, but also be really strategic with what we're putting on YouTube. And then for the thumbnail cover art, having it be anywhere from 3 to 5 words that are really snappy. And I will actually ask, like, give me 3 YouTube cover captions, like titles that I can use for this episode. And usually I'll combine them in some way of like, I don't really like that, but I like this word. Let's make it Alicia's. And then I'll do that. And then I'll usually have the person's face on there who's doing it. But that AI thing I think is so interesting. There is one person I know of, I don't know them, but I know of, where they use an AI generated picture of their guest. And so they feed AI their guest's photo and then use that as like, here's the picture of them. And they get a lot of views. I don't know if they've just had the channel for a long time or what, but I actually had one of my clients was really upset because she was like, one, I didn't consent to you feeding my photo into AI. And 2, that looks nothing like me. I feel like it's not a, like, genuine representation of me as a person. And so I would just say be a little careful with the AI generated graphics. But I always like to just throw the person's face up there, especially for I have a podcast that's all about romance reading. And so when I'm interviewing authors, I like to make sure that I have their face, or if they have like a caricature of them or a character art of them, then like, here is them. And that way it's very recognizable to other people who read their books. They're like, yes, I know that author. I want to see that. Right. And so that's always a good option as well. But yeah, anything that's like quick and snappy, or even like, oh my gosh, can you believe it? Right. Those are the ones. And the way I like to think about it is your title and your description are for the algorithm. What they're gonna be looking at is that thumbnail. And so you wanna feed the algorithm what it needs to show it to the right people, and then your thumbnail has to be the right thing for the person, the human, to see and say, "Yes, I wanna check that out."
That's fair. I have been trying to get AI to kind of be more human. I think some of the tools are meant to properly skew you enough that it's not real likeness. And to the point of you don't have authorization to use pictures. Honestly, if it's on the internet, AI's been using it. You can't stop that.
Right.
That's just how the world is now. There will be a time where IP laws and everything completely change, but that's a topic for another time. I do want to just round it in terms of like the podcast, in terms of being in the country a little bit. I want to offer your audience and my audience an insight of right now is a very good time to be in a rural area, small towns that need people who just understand AI. You have so many opportunities to build up old businesses, those towns, those relationships, those communities to be a better function of our society. And just if you think about it, this is an opportunity for everybody. Play with AI, learn AI, because there is so much opportunity in rural America and rural Canada right now to build a name for yourself, build a business, build what you want out of your community. And we're just starting to touch the cream of the pie here. It's amazing what's coming out in the next 5 years.
Yeah, I'm anticipating it'll be very interesting. I've been trying to teach my kids about AI. Like, as soon as it started coming out, I was like, I already know this is gonna be big. My kids are gonna need to know how to use it. And they're homeschooled, so I always try to make sure they know the stuff that's happening. And so, yeah, I mean, right now they just use it for creating any type of combination of Godzilla that they possibly can think of. But that's just kids, right? But just showing like how it works. But yeah, I think that a lot of these smaller businesses, if they want to keep up with these bigger ones, then AI can make a lot of shortcuts for them and create opportunities for them to compete with some of these bigger businesses for sure. So yeah, completely
Not even
agree.
just compete, it's just survive. Like a lot of these. So I'm in a town of 3,500 people. The only reason we're as big as we are is because we have the only marina on the island. But even they're struggling. Small businesses like the car shops, the local businesses that thrive on tourism still struggle. These things can be helped with somebody just coming in and saying, "Hey, what's your problem?" and just solving that minuscule problem. There's your service right there. There's a business for anybody who's looking. Go into your local businesses, ask what their problem is, and figure out how to solve
Yeah, I love that. So there's your business model. Cody, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for being on. Where can people find you, listen to your show, get to know you, all that fun stuff?
Of course, on YouTube at The Weird Canadian, or any social network youth platform at The Weird Canadian. I'm across all of them except for X because I don't abide by their rules and regulations and the stuff they're doing. But I love Blue Sky for being the alternative. And that's my primary platform if you just want to chat with me. But yeah, anywhere where you could search The Weird Canadian, I'm more than likely find me.
Great. We'll make sure that we have links for all of that in the show notes as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.